Hello, everybody. Welcome to my, I don't know what I'd call this, a pre-show, I guess, for my E3 coverage this year. I say this year as if, like, I've done this before. I haven't done this before. I recognize that, like, reaction videos and stuff are not a new thing, and in fact, they've kind of become, uh, almost like a fad at this point. But I was thinking, I could do this. This is something that I could do, because usually I will kind of record my reactions and highlights when I'm watching E3 anyway, just in text. But this is a lot easier, and hey, this means I can share the experience with you guys. Um, in any case, though, and I should warn you, I've been sick the last few days, so if I sound weird, that's why. I got a dumb cold that I'm currently fighting off. Anyway, you might be wondering what's the purpose of this video, because obviously this is not any coverage here. Right now, I just wanted to go over, well, first of all, the conferences that I'm covering, and second of all, my bingo card. So, I know later today is EA's conference, and I'm gonna be going over that one, which I don't have very high expectations. I'm not an EA fan, and typically I don't enjoy their E3 conferences, but I'd like to think that they could pleasantly surprise me. And also they have a few things on my bingo card this year, so I gotta watch it for that at least. I'm also going to be covering the Square Enix and Sony conferences that are tomorrow, I believe. And I think Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft is tomorrow. I don't entirely remember. Oh, no. All three of those are Monday. Tomorrow is Microsoft, which I'll also be covering. I'll cover Microsoft. And lastly, I'll go over Nintendo's on Tuesday. I'm skipping the PC gaming show, Bethesda, and Devolver Digital because I don't care about them. And odds are, if I were to cover them, it would just be loads of silence because I just don't really have anything to comment on. Either that or just kind of like, oh, that looks cool, or this looks pretty. That's kind of neat, and that's not particularly interesting. And they have nothing on my bingo card this year, so yeah. And so finally, you might be wondering, what are you talking about, this bingo card thing? What is that? I made an E3 bingo card like 2 or 3 months ago because I was bored, but also because it just seemed like a cool idea. I've heard of people doing this before. And because I made it a few months ago, it's a bit outdated now because it's kind of full of things that I think are going to happen at E3. A few of the things have changed, but because I'm stubborn/lazy, I'm not updating the card, and I'm just gonna stick to my guns. But I'll go on ahead and just briefly go over, well, it's probably not going to be very brief, actually. It's probably going to be the longest part of this video. I'll just go over what each of my bingo tiles are. So the first one is Mega Man 11 news. I expect something from Mega Man 11, a trailer, or just like some kind of announcement. I don't know if we have a release date already or not, but if not, I fully expect a release date. You can tell I totally did my research before doing this. Not much else to say. Mega Man 11, I think, is pretty much guaranteed to show up. Then I have an amazing surprise that wasn't leaked beforehand, and this is something that's at like every E3. It's just that one game that nobody saw coming that is usually awesome. Though in this case it doesn't have to be awesome, just as long as it wasn't leaked beforehand and nobody expected it, or at the very least I didn't expect it. Then I have Animal Crossing Switch. I'm feeling a little less confident about this now, but again, I'm sticking to my guns. I think Animal Crossing for the Switch is going to be revealed. Probably a release date too. But yeah, probably just like a little trailer to show it off, because we didn't get Animal Crossing at all on the Wii U. And New Leaf is, gosh, like 5 years old now, I think. I think it came out in 2013. So I think it's about time for a new Animal Crossing. Next bingo tile is dumb mobile game focus. Kind of self-explanatory, just like the announcement or just too much time spent on a mobile game that probably isn't going to get much attention. A very subjective tile, I recognize, so I'll be a bit more strict with, not just placing a chip on it the second it's like, oh, here's a mobile game that we spent like, a minute on. It's got to be more time than that. It has to be more time than that, or it has to be something that's impressively stupid, which again, subjective, but yeah. My next tile is a Pokemon Switch trailer, which, due to the reveal like a couple of weeks ago, I don't actually think this is going to happen. I would be shocked if we see Gen 8. We know that Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee will show up, so that I'm not counting that, because when I said Pokemon Switch, I meant the next core generation series game. And yeah, if we see that, I don't expect it to be anything more than just like a teaser, which is like a logo, and that's it. Nothing more than that. Next, I do expect Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 trailer or another teaser or something. In some form, I think Bayonetta 3 will be shown off. Not really anything to extrapolate beyond that. Next, no Final Fantasy VII Remake news, because, I mean, yeah, it's bad. At this rate, I think the most recent news we've received about FF7R is that it's basically been canned and restarted from scratch, like with a whole new team, which is not the most reassuring news we could be given, but I mean, who didn't see this coming? Next, using a poor genuine indie developer. This one's a little difficult to describe, and it's also kind of subjective, but this basically means when one of the conferences brings on like, this very sincere indie developer who presents his or her game, usually ends up being very like not accustomed to being on stage and giving a presentation, and it comes across again like as the name suggests, very genuine, because they actually care about their game. Meanwhile, the conference is basically just using them as a form of like, I guess, kind of like buying credibility almost, but it's a little bit different. It's more specific than that. Next, I have Fire Emblem Switch delay, which, upon doing research, and by research I mean somebody informed me that there was never actually a release date, or even a release like year or window for the Fire Emblem Switch game, because we don't know anything about it other than it will exist. Probably. I think they confirmed that Fire Emblem Switch was a thing, like, when the Switch was revealed a year and a half ago. So, at this point, I'm only going to check this one off with a bingo chip if it turns out that it's, first of all, at the show for Nintendo's conference, and secondly, if we get either no release date at all, or the release date is like 2020 or something. Because if it's, I'll be shocked if it's this year, considering we've seen and heard literally nothing about it. And I think 2019 is very reasonable of a release window, considering what we know, or rather, all that we don't know. Then I have EA does something stupid, which should explain itself. I'm not a big EA fan, like I think I mentioned that earlier, but I kind of just get a kick out of watching their presentations anyway, just because they tend to have stuff that I find amusing, and in not exactly a great way, but So I guess warning to EA fans, which, I don't hate EA. I think it's cool because obviously they're still in the business for a reason. People like their stuff, so that's good. My next bingo tile is a 3DS game that everyone complains about not being on Switch, which is something that just seems to happen with like every other 3DS announcement now. Which I understand, but at the same time, it's kind of just been annoying to me when a 3DS game is announced and people are like, why isn't this on the Switch? It's terrible. Nintendo's the devil. It just kind of irritates me. Even though I kind of felt that way about the Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story remake that they announced last year. Or not last year. That was just a few months ago. But, yeah, so that's it for that one. Then I have a tile for a dumb VR push, which is a bit specific, because VR in general, I realize that there is an audience for VR. I don't know how much of an audience, because I haven't really been keeping up with VR news in a very long time. But this specifically refers to, like, games that have already come out, just kind of getting a sudden VR edition that doesn't seem to add anything, or just some other VR thing like that Final Fantasy 15 fishing VR adventure thing. Like if something on that tier of dumb shows up, then this is getting a chip. Then I have a tile for Microsoft talking about true 4K. I don't think it's actually going to happen this year because I think they probably got it out of their system last year when they were hyping up the Xbox One X. I hope they got that out of their system because that was kind of silly. Then I have buying credibility, which I touched on a little bit with the indie developer thing. But this is more specific, or I guess not more specific. This is kind of different in that this refers more to an instance of, for instance, like having a celebrity show up for an interview that isn't really relevant to the presentation. Like I think they had Pele show up at last year's presentation, or maybe it was the year before that. I honestly don't remember. That was buying credibility. Or like I forget which year it was. It might have been last year or the year before, because again, I don't remember. They had like some new sports car. It was like, look at this awesome car that's featured in our game. I think it might have been one of EA's presentations. We have it at the show floor, and none of you can afford this car, but it's awesome, and you should buy your game. Which is buying credibility. My next chip would be for the Metroid Prime 4 trailer. I do think we'll see Metroid Prime 4 again. It might just be another teaser. If it's another teaser, I'm not actually going to count this. Like, if there's no anything, if it's just like, it's still happening, here's the logo again, it's updated, still in development, if it's just that, then no, I'm not counting that. But if it's a trailer, like, even if it is a pre-rendered trailer, I will still count that. But, yeah, I think Metro Prime 4, I think we'll finally see something. I don't think we'll see much, but I think we'll see something. Probably a release window for, like, 2019, if I had to guess. Next, I have Beyond Good and Evil prequel news. I never played Beyond Good and Evil, and I never was interested in it. I saw some footage of like the first couple hours of the game. It really didn't hook me, but like I understand that there's a really huge following for it. So I really feel for the Beyond Good and Evil fans who have been waiting, like 10 years now? Something like that for a sequel, because from what I understand, and I could be wrong because I haven't been following it, but like if after the first game, it was like, hey, we're working on Beyond Good and Evil 2, it's totally happening. And then there was like nothing for like years. And then it was like, hey, Beyond Good and Evil 2, we're starting over. It's happening still. We're doing this. It's gonna be a thing. And then it went quiet again. And then they may have done it a third time. I don't know, but I know last year it was like, hey, Beyond Good and Evil, you're getting a prequel. The sequel's not happening anymore, but you're gonna prequel. Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I I hope it's good. I hope that it can satisfy the Beyond Good and Evil fans who've been waiting so long for another game. But yeah, I don't know. My next tile is for another Just Dance game because it's Ubisoft and they do that. It basically always happens. So it's a very safe one. I understand it's a very safe prediction, but yeah. Speaking of really safe predictions, my next one is still no new F-Zero. I'm not a big F-Zero fan. I only actually played like F-Zero X, and that was it. It was fun. I liked it. But like, wow, come on. Why has there not been a new F-Zero game? It's been, what, like 15 years since F-Zero GX? Or something? Might actually have been longer than that. I know there was a Game Boy Advance game based on like the anime, I think, that nobody talks about, probably within reason. But yeah, F-Zero, I'm not feeling it this year. I'm thinking the franchise is probably dead until they decide to revive it for like, I don't know, the 20th anniversary of GX or something. Next, Super Smash Bros. Switch release date. It's gotta happen. Like, we know it's coming out this year. I think we're gonna get an actual, like, specific date at Nintendo's E3. That's basically it. Obviously, we're gonna get a trailer, and we know that for a fact. But I don't see how they can have a trailer and not have a release date, so yeah. My next tile is for Microsoft using the what's the word? I guess it's not a buzzword, but I guess they were using it like a buzzword. Exclusive! Which was also everywhere last year. And like the true 4K thing, I'm hoping that they got it out of their system so that I don't have to use these tiles. But I don't know. I really have no idea. Next, I think we'll get some news on Yoshi. So, like, remember last year at Nintendo's E3 Direct thingy, they announced a new Yoshi game. I don't blame you if you don't remember, because it came immediately after the Metroid Prime 4 teaser that kind of just made everybody explode. And then I think everybody sort of died for a little bit, so they didn't even notice the Yoshi game that they announced. But, we haven't heard anything since that E3 about this game. We don't even have a title for it. We just know it's a Yoshi game, which seems to be like a pseudo 3D thing that looks very similar to Woolly World. All we got was it's called Yoshi for now, and it had a release window of 2018, which is why I think we'll hear something about it. Even if it's like a delay, I just think we're going to get some kind of news about it. I am a little concerned, though, that due to the fact that we haven't heard anything in a year, and due to it looking like Woolly World, I'm actually sort of fearing that these are somehow connected, and we have another Woolly World situation in which it just kind of falls off the face of the planet, and then comes back in a couple years, looking completely different. I mean, I guess on the positive, if it does end up doing that, it'll probably be good. I heard good things about Woolly World, even though it wasn't something I was personally interested in. But, yeah, I think Yoshi will be at E3. Next, Little Big Planet 4. I think we will see Little Big Planet 4 announced, because I don't think that there's been an announcement for Little Big Planet 4. Like, you can tell I'm not a Little Big Planet fan. If you've watched Dire Dare games, you know that. But I know that there is a Little Big Planet 3, but I don't actually know if it's out. I assume it's out. I think it's a PS4 game. So this is like probably my most uneducated prediction of all of them, but in any case, I do think Little Big Planet will be there. Next, I'm a little less confident about this one now, but again, sticking to my guns. I think Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be delayed because it's Square Enix, and It's Kingdom Hearts, and it's Nomura, and this is just how things work. But they have been sticking to their 2018 release date in the recent trailers, so I'm not actually sure if that's the case. And I know there's been a rumor about a Kingdom Hearts 3 release date being at the conference, which, you know, I kind of believe it, but I'm sticking with my bingo card. So, for the sake of being stubborn and not wanting to change my card, I'm gonna say it's gonna be delayed. Next is an EA Sports segment that's way too long, which again super subjective, but I would probably only put a chip on this if like I legitimately start getting bored during the EA Sports segment, because I know last year, I think it was last year, I don't even remember, they had was it FIFA with like a story mode, which was like, that was actually interesting, and that would not have qualified as a sports segment that went on too long, because I was actually interested in that, even though I don't care about EA Sports. And my final tile is total nonsense, which is a little difficult to define, but you'll know. It's basically when something really weird or bizarre or nonsensical happens that just doesn't really seem to have any bearing on anything. I don't think there was any total nonsense stuff that happened last year, but it's something that kind of I'll have to make the call if I see it. But if they justify it, like for instance, if they just have this weird dance number that's just super weird, and then they follow it up with, by the way, Just Dance, and you know that's their tie-in, then that wouldn't be total nonsense to me. That would actually be relevant, and I think that would be okay. And that is the end of my bingo card. So I'm gonna have that on the screen. I mean, actually, I could just show you real quick. It's gonna be right here, and I'll be putting chips onto the squares as they get checked off. But that's basically it. I'll be covering EA's conference later today. I won't be doing it live because I'm worried that streaming it and recording it at the same time could result in like even more choppy video, because I did a test recording earlier and it was okay, but there were some stutters with the video, kind of freezing up every now and then. So yeah, I really don't want to take my chances streaming it at the same time. But I think I've rambled for enough, because, oh wow, it's already been over 20 minutes. But I'll see you guys for EA, or if you choose to skip it, then I'll see you for whatever conference you decide to tune into. So here's hoping for a good E3 and a fun time covering it with you guys. I'll see you guys later.